Welcome back to God Given. Today we're going to briefly discuss God given finances. And I want to discuss what they don't tell you about house buying and when you buy a house. What they don't tell you. And so I bought my first house over 20 years ago. And even though it was a 2-story home, it was almost 2,000 square feet, which was a kind of a medium-sized house. I wish I would have bought a smaller house. And so what people don't tell you is that your first house should be small and that you can always move up into a bigger house. It's better to start out with a small home, not just because of how much it costs, but the time that it's going to take to manage and take care of that house. So it's better to buy small, your first home, even if it's a condo. It's wiser to start out small and to buy larger as you make more money or get older in life. It's better that your first house is small and smaller than you want. And so you just got to be patient. It's wise to be patient when you're home buying. And never rush. Don't rush in buying a house. That's another thing people don't tell you. Don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time. The longer it takes, the longer it takes to purchase your house, the better. I'm not talking about 10, 20, 30 years, but it depends on your age when you start thinking about buying a home. But take your time. Take your time. Don't rush. And the other thing they don't tell you about house buying is that you'll probably resell your home in less than 10 years. And so most likely you will not pay off your home, not because you can't afford to, but because you'll probably wind up buying another home. So my husband and I, we've right now we're living in our second home that we purchased. Within the last 20 years, we're living in our second, or about 20, maybe 21 years. We purchased our first home in 97 and our second home in 2019. Almost 18, but 2019. We moved into our second home in 2019. So you're probably going to sell your other home and buy a new home within 10 years. Most people do. They move up in 10 years. So the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people, they sign a 30-year mortgage, but you're probably not going to pay that off. And so don't get so worried about, 30 years, I got to pay this off in 30 years. Now, keep this in mind that I'm speaking in general, and that it depends on where you live. Some states and some cities, people don't move around a lot. I've seen people in some cities, especially in the Midwest, they've lived in their apartment for 15, 20 years, or their home for 30, 40, 50 years. And so it depends. But in large cities, especially like in Las Vegas, California, New York, Texas, some places in the South, a lot of people don't move. It depends on the city and how fast the town is growing. But people don't move a lot in every city. And so it just depends on where you live. So I'm speaking in general. Okay? So that's the two things they don't tell you. And when people are buying a house, they think about those things kind of a little bit too much. They think about it too much. It's like, am I going to be able to pay it off? 30 years is a long time. Anything can happen in 30 years. And so when my husband and we bought our first home, we had no idea. We thought we were going to live there 30 years. Matter of fact, less than 10 years before we actually sold our home and moved, we were trying to sell it. But the market, some things was going on where we had changed our mind. And so you just don't know. Those are just things that you don't know. And so buy small. And just keep in mind, you're probably going to wind up moving into another home. But it's going to be something that you want to do. You're not going to be forced. It's not a negative. It's not a negative thing. And so that's why I just want you to be aware of that. That's what people don't tell you. There's a lot of other things people don't tell us when we're home buying. But those two, I think, are important to know, especially to buy small. Also, just one more thing is try not to put all your cash down on your home. So in 2008, when the United States went through this big depression, a recession where a lot of people lost their homes, one of the problems was that a lot of people, they bought a home and then they put like 20%, 40, 50% down on the home. They put all their money, all their cash reserve down on the home. And so then when the market busted or failed, they didn't have no cash. They didn't have no cash on hand. They didn't have no liquid assets, and that's not good. It's always good to have some money in the bank. Don't put all your eggs in one basket when you're buying a home. And so just because you can put 50% down of the house, 50% down, doesn't mean you should. You don't want to just give all your money to one area. Okay, so that's the other very important tip. Save some money, because you're going to need money to renovate your house, to fix it up, to furnish it. Once you move into your new home, you're going to need you're going to need cash to fix up your house and to buy things, and even for insurance purposes. There's a bunch of things that are going to come up that they don't tell you about buying a house when you first get your house. When you buy your house. And even if you buy another one, even if you buy your house new, you still could have problems with a new house. And so me and my husband, we bought a new house because I didn't want to use house, because I was like, oh, I don't want nobody else's problems. I didn't think we were going to have any problems with our new house, but that wasn't true. So the people that built our first home, they did not put the foundation deep enough. And so there was a huge crack, I remember, in our living room floor. You could see it when you removed all the carpet. It never caused us any problems, but there was a huge crack. It may have come, I think there was one time we had an earthquake. We had probably more than once, because where I live, we do have earthquakes. They're not real violent earthquakes, but we do have earthquakes here. And so we do have earthquakes here. They're not really bad, but we do have earthquakes here. And so just because you buy a house new doesn't mean it's not going to have problems. One of my relatives, they also bought their house new. And their house, the plumbing, the people built the house, they left trash in their walls. They used trash to insulate the walls. And they left a towel and stuff like that in their plumbing. And so you just never know. It's good to have an inspector. It's good to get your house inspected. But the inspector, they're not going to find everything. And so it's impossible to buy something with no problems. It can happen, but it's rare, even for a new home. And so unless you get it built yourself, unless you customize it and build it yourself, which a lot of people do. So anyway, that's all I want to put out there. I just want to let you know that there's some things about house buying that they don't tell you, that people don't tell you, that you just have to learn through trial and error. And me being, as long as I have been on this planet, half a century. And so, yeah, there's things that people don't tell us. And so I just want to put this out there so you can know beforehand. But still go try to buy a house if you can afford it. Save up and all those things. Try to get a house. It's nice to own a house. But if you don't own a house, it ain't the end of the world. Owning a house isn't everything. It's a blessing. It's nice, but it's not everything. And it doesn't determine your worth. You still, our worth is who we are. Just the fact that we were created by God. Okay, so that's all I got to say. And so put any comments if you like, or questions, just let me know. I always answer all the questions. Okay, chat with you later. Thanks for listening.